Up next on Veteran on the Move, I'm talking with military spouse Erika Heeren, the president and creative director at Heeren Content and Strategy.
Welcome to Veteran on the Move. If you're a veteran in transition, an entrepreneur wannabe, or someone still stuck in that job trying to escape, this podcast is dedicated to your success. And now, your host, Joe Crane.
The top 7 paths to freedom is my free gift to you for listening to the show, featuring 7 great ways for a veteran to take their first step into the exciting world of entrepreneurship. To receive your free gift, go to veteranonthemove.com, or if you're listening on a mobile device, you can text the word veteran to 38470. Erika Heeren is a president and creative director at Heeren Content and Strategy, a local boutique public relations firm. A 13-year marketing and public relations veteran, Erika has a professional focus on integrated media spanning 16 different industries. Her clients include local small business owners, marketing agencies, public universities, media outlets, Huffington Post-published authors, IT firms, and nonprofit organizations. Erika is also an outspoken advocate for veteran and military spouse employment, education, and entrepreneurship. All right, Erika Heeren, welcome to Veteran on the Move. Thanks for being here. We're looking forward to hearing your entrepreneurship story. But before we get to that, take us back a little ways and talk about your affiliation with the military as a military spouse.
Yeah, so my affiliation with the military as a military spouse has been fairly recent. My husband and I are going on our 3rd anniversary. We actually started dating right about his last tour. So not exactly the most ideal time, but we've moved from Alaska to Idaho, and I've always been very career-centric, right? I've been in marketing for just over 14 years. I've always been very focused on my career goals, on my education goals, and just go all the time. And then all of a sudden, you get orders to move. And it throws everything for a loop, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's one of the things military spouses struggle with is, and also the military member as far as trying to, do something entrepreneurial-wise is you have to pack up and move all the time. So how have you been able to adjust to that?
I was able to find new employment down here. I have a fairly diverse resume, so it wasn't challenging. However, it wasn't the perfect job, right? It wasn't the next step that I wanted to take in my career progression. It was actually a step back for me. It was moving back from a management position into an admin position, which I know a lot of military spouses find themselves in that situation where they have to find a job, any job, to pay the bills, right? If they're able to get a job at all. Mm-hmm. So I had to take that pay cut. I had to take that step back, and it was a huge detriment to my ego, if nothing else. Right. But I did use it as a learning experience. I was working for an IT company out here locally that did a lot of government contracting. So I was able to kind of fill in the gaps of my own, for my own professional background. Government contracting was not something that I had done before. So being able to market to that kind of clientele boosted my confidence, and it gave me an opportunity to work on my education. I was able to go back to school, and I'm getting ready to wrap up my bachelor's degree and all of that. So there was a positive aspect of that. But I know a lot of military spouses are not nearly that lucky to find a job that would allow them to do that. They might find themselves in an industry that isn't anywhere near where they wanted to be for their career. And it's, I was fairly lucky to wind up here in Boise where there's a lot of opportunity. For a lot of military spouses, they may get stationed in Fort Irwin, where the closest, town is 2 hours away. Right. So it's not like you can find this exciting new job everywhere you go. And if you have small children, it becomes even more of an issue. I do have a son who is, 3-4 at the time. It does make you think twice about making that leap from employee to entrepreneur. because there is such a risk associated with it. And being a military spouse on top of that, I probably spent 6 months arguing with myself and my husband about making that leap, just because there is so much responsibility that you feel. You're the only one out of that partnership that has any flexibility. And it's not any part of your spouse who's in the military, because they have no say in it either. So you have to be the one that's flexible. You have to be the one that's bendable and able to adapt your own career and your own lifestyle, at least during the time that they're in the military. For me, it got down to the point where I had this idea and I had this passion, and I had to do something with it or I was going to go absolutely crazy. So I actually started my business as the proverbial side hustle. So I was still working full time. I was still working on my degree, and I started a business on top of that while being a mom. So it was
Nice.
A lot of 80 to 100-hour weeks. If for military spouses who are looking to at least dip their toes in that water to see if it's for them, I definitely recommend doing that because it gave me that safety net. I felt like I could go farther and take more risks in my business because I did have that income coming in from my full-time job. I was very fortunate to have an employer who I took my business plan to him and I said, look, this is what I want to do. This is where I'm going. Are you willing to work with me? And they were, so long as it didn't affect my day-to-day, they were fine, but it was a lot of hard work. It was a lot of arguing with myself. And, I think a lot of military spouses are in the same boat where they're not quite ready to make that leap out of nothing other than fear of what if I fail.
So now that you've crossed over and you've actually, I think you're doing the entrepreneurship thing more or less full time now, right?
Yeah, no, actually after about 4 months, I was able to quit my day job, which was quite a bit ahead of schedule. I thought it would take me at least a year. So that was encouraging, to be sure. And I probably could have done it earlier than that. But again, I really liked having that safety net there.
Right.
Not going to lie. But no, I did. I made that leap, and I just had to look at it from the perspective of, look how far I've come in 4 months. What would happen if I could put all of this time into the business? At 8 months after that, I was able to open my own office. I've hired my first employee. We're opening up a new contractor program, and it's becoming a brand, which is really exciting.
Wow, that's awesome. I mean, especially just after 4 months. And of course, you had a lot of experience and background for years of working in the industry to pull from. So it wasn't like you were really starting your skill set from scratch per se, but you were starting your looking for business from scratch. So to pull money in and to be able to quit your day job within about 4 months is very, very impressive. So congratulations to you on that. And it one thing we talk about here on Veteran on the Move a lot is whether it be the military member themselves or the military spouse, because oftentimes it's the spouse that's the entrepreneurial minded one, or even has the time and opportunity to be the entrepreneurial one, even if the military member is interested, they're too consumed. And we talk about the best time to start a business or that side hustle, as you mentioned, is while you're still in. And the one thing that ideally, if you can get to a point where the main thing keeping you from scaling is the fact that you're still working full time, that's a good position to be in before you decide to get out or retire, whatever it may be. It sounds like that's what happened to you. You within just 4 months, you were making money, and the main thing keeping you from going beyond where you're currently at was the job kind of getting in the way. And that was really, it sounds like that was probably helped in your decision process was, well, now my job's kind of in the way.
Well, and I mean, I highly recommend going through the process of creating a comprehensive business plan. Because I actually had I made the decision to bootstrap my business. So we're completely self-funded, which adds a whole other level of challenges right there. But I had the benchmarks. I knew exactly what I needed to make in order to leave my day job, what I needed to make to open an office, what I needed to make to hire an employee and to move forward in that way. So I had a growth plan from day one, actually day -6 months for me, but it was structured. So there wasn't a whole lot of guesswork. It was, I need to be at this point in order to take that next step. And it definitely helped me kind of push me off of that ledge of, am I going to do it? Am I going to do it? Right. So knowing that it was something that was viable and that I could move forward.
Yeah, that was very, very insightful and disciplined of you to do it that way. You have those benchmarks and those metrics in place to drive you. Because one of the things a lot of folks experience when they jump into this entrepreneurship thing is you're only accountable to yourself. So, why write this stuff down, and why do I need to have goals? I know what I'm trying to do. But if you don't formalize it and put it down on paper and put timelines to it, you can easily, since you're only accountable to yourself, then no one's going to know if you're making progress or not. So that was great for you to do that, and obviously it worked well for you.
Yep, definitely. So
tell us about your business, content strategy.
So we are, and I say we now that I have more than one of me. So I am an inbound marketing agency. So what I mean by that is inbound has kind of become a bit of a buzzword. It's been around since about 2001, but it's just now starting to get to the common vernacular in the industry. Traditional marketing practices say that you have to go and interrupt a consumer in order to get your message across, right? Yeah. Whether that be through an advertisement, whether that be through door hangers or what have you, or any way that you can get your message in front of them and stop what they're doing. Inbound marketing and content marketing by extension puts you in a part of a conversation that they're already having and lets you add value. So you don't have to work as hard to let your clients educate themselves about your brand, about your product, about your service. The result is when they're ready to call you, they're already a qualified lead. If you're like me and you hate sales with a passion, it's a great alternative, right? Because then you wind up with clients who already know who you are, they know what you do, and they're calling you for a reason. Mm-hmm. It's not just out of the blue. They're not just, you don't have to start from scratch. And half the time it's a lot harder. It's a lot easier to value price your services. The benefit of this, of course, is less money spent trying to get new clients when they're already coming to you. So this is a great fit for small business. As a result, we only work with small businesses, nonprofits, and authors. And the reason why I added authors in there is because we've got a new trend with entrepreneurs where everyone wants to write a book, which is a good or bad thing. But we want you to write a book that's actually adds value to the community, to the conversation. So we offer ghostwriting services, editing services, that sort of thing, to make sure that you're actually presenting yourself in the way that you want to. So they all kind of mesh together. And then, of course, I have a big heart for nonprofits. So we offer similar services there. Specific services that we offer include content strategy, and that involves social media posting and campaign management. We do blogging as well, both ghostwriting and editing. What I mean by ghostwriting is we write it for you, and you get to take credit for it. So win-win there. We also do email marketing, website design, graphic design, so logos, that sort of thing, SEO, media relations, and the surrounding digital marketing services that you would expect to find. I like to call myself the anti-agency. I grew up in that environment where you had to have $10,000 to walk through the door of an agency, right? Yeah. Otherwise, they wouldn't take your business. They're not just going to do a website. They're not just going to do one product for you. You have to get everything or nothing. And you wind up spending $50,000, $60,000, $100,000 a year. For most small business owners, this doesn't work, right? So they're left to fend for themselves.
Yeah.
I believe in completely transparent pricing. My website is still a little bit under construction. We're doing a little bit of revamping, but you'll notice that we do what most agencies don't, and we actually post our prices. We post exactly what you get, what you can expect, where your discounts are, and then our campaigns are data-driven. So we do research specifically for your brand or your nonprofit to make sure that the work that's being done is actually addressing the audience that you want. When you think about the fact that there are 40 million active small business accounts just on Facebook alone, you don't want to be putting out the same kind of content than everybody else is. So we help you tailor that to your specific audience and get in those conversations that they're already having.
All right, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Have you joined the Veteran on the Move Facebook group? I personally invite every guest that I have on the podcast to join the group. So the Veteran on the Move Facebook group is a great way to connect with previous podcast guests. Our Facebook group will keep you in touch with other veterans that are transitioning to entrepreneurship, and you will also get great updates and free guides on the people, programs, and resources that will help you in your transition to entrepreneurship. All right, we're back with Erika Heeren, and we're talking about content marketing and strategy. And Erika, before our break, you were talking about jumping into those conversations that people are already having.
Yeah. So, part of our practice is getting to know your client first, your ideal client, right? And everybody has their ideal client, their secondary client, and their referral partners that they want to reach. So what we do is when we first bring on a client, we create buyer personas. And what that is it's a snapshot view of what your customer looks like. That means their age, their gender, their influences, their lifestyle, their income levels, what their job looks like. And we try and create as accurate and granular a picture as we possibly can. And then we create content for that specific buyer. And usually when I've got a full marketing client, I've got, 5 to 6 different buyer personas that I'm speaking to. So every one of our clients that comes in for branding services or content marketing services receives that buyer persona creation and the research that goes along with it. And then we tailor your brand message to fit that client. And that way you're able to be more efficient with your budget and bring those clients into you as opposed to having to go chase them down. In addition, all of our clients also receive a monthly report that's easy to read and easy to digest. So most marketing agencies, you'll find, especially when you're talking about SEO and web design and really technical stuff, you'll find that they're using $20 words in their reports, and you might not understand everything that they're saying. If you don't understand what they're telling you, you don't know if what you're doing is actually working. You want to be able to speak intelligently in these consultations so that you know that you're the person that you're trusting to do your marketing, that you're spending all this money with, is actually accomplishing the goal. If they're using those $20 words and talking over your head, that's a little disconcerting. So our reports are broken down into layman's terms so that you can identify exactly what your goals were, which we will have established ahead of time, and what we've done to accomplish them and what the actual results were. And then I sit with each one of my clients and I go through the reports myself, just so that to be sure that they understand exactly what they're doing, where their budget is going, and demonstrating a return on investment that way. So like I said, I like to be the anti-agency that makes it all about the business and takes the guesswork out of it.
Yeah. Now, do you find is the bulk of your business coming from your typical brick and mortar store that just has a website, or are you dealing with a lot of online clients?
I get both. I have clients that have online businesses in New York and Dallas, and I've got one client in Philly. That they tend to be easier sells because all of their marketing is done online.
So I'm curious. I'm curious with your own specific business. Is it constantly in the back of your mind to try to keep your business mobile as much as you possibly can? So if the next set of orders comes downrange, you are able to have that portability built into your own business?
Yes, absolutely. And we just got our orders, so we'll be leaving in the next year.
How did I know?
Yeah, it's always when it's going great that they say, "Hey, change of plans." So yeah, I actually structured that into my business plan when I started because I knew, my husband has 8 more years in, so I get to do this a couple more times. But I think it's important for when you're working with small businesses to have a face of the company in their local area, just to keep that trust going. So I was able to find we actually have what's called the New Ventures Lab here in Meridian, close to Boise, that has smaller offices for rent for a reasonable price. A lot of cities have something similar. You might not get the corner office, but wherever you can find an efficient way to set up an office and put an employee in there to be the face of the company while you go off and, conquer new markets.
Yeah. Now the New Ventures Lab, is that like a co-working space?
It is. It's co-working, and they've got standalone offices. They've got, your standard conference room set up and stuff like that. So you can do workshops. You can do pretty much anything you need to do for a reduced cost. So it is really a great, unique program here in Meridian, and it's sponsored by the city. Just kind of a little incubator. And the benefit of that too is that I'm surrounded by other businesses that are in a similar stage. So I'm able to kind of feed off of their entrepreneurial spirit as well. So if I find myself getting a little inundated and a little overwhelmed with everything that's going on, I have somebody to go and talk to.
Yeah, I can relate to that because we had all the kids back in the house over Christmas break, and I run my business out of my home office for the most part. And, I've spent the last couple of days, some of the free time, I'd be bopping around town looking at different options for co-working spaces and an office and that kind of thing. Just to get out of the house, I'm trying to compare it to what it would be like just going to the library or going over to Panera or Starbucks versus going to a co-working space. And then obviously, if you can afford to pull the trigger on maybe an office inside a co-working space. But there is definitely a really cool vibe and a cool energy in those co-working spaces because everybody in there is entrepreneurial and they're all running their own business. So I really love the energy and the vibe in those places.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I have high hopes to eventually we'll settle in one place and have our forever home that every military spouse hopes and dreams about.
Yeah, but you know what happens as somebody that's a lot farther down the road than you? Yeah, you move into that forever home, and about 3 years, you start getting that itch. You're like, okay, when are we moving again? I'm ready. Oh, wait, I don't have to move. That's weird. Yeah. You start wanting to move again. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. I mean, I can see myself in the future starting something similar where I open an office for myself and then open additional offices for non-competitive newer companies to create that kind of environment just because I thrive off of it so much.
Mm-hmm. Well, hey, so I'm real curious. You talked about moving around a few different jobs here and there and having to take a lower level job on your last move. Now that you've officially crossed over to the dark side of entrepreneurship, I always like to ask this, would you consider yourself unemployable now?
No. And the reason why, I always have more to learn. And I think it's Vera Wang who said this. It's good to work for other people. They pay me to learn.
Yeah, I like that.
So, and actually, funny story. So after I quit, about 2 weeks after I quit, I got a phone call from my former employer going, "So, hey, will you come in and consult for us?" So I actually still do some case by case projects for them, but I have more control over, which projects I take on. But it's an opportunity to go from being a medium-sized fish in a medium-sized pond to being a little fish in a big pond, especially when you're talking about DoD contracting and stuff like that. And it reminds me of how much farther I have to go. And it gives me an opportunity to stretch my professional muscles, as it were, and I think having that student mentality is always so important. And I may never go back to having a job. I hope not. I hope that this becomes wildly successful and I never need to have another job again.
Yeah.
But I also hope I never lose that student mentality. And I think that when you say that you're employable, I think it's that you're still coming to the table saying, you know, I still have more to learn from people who have done it already and are living it now.
So if you know, and when I ask people if they consider themselves unemployable, you know, I'm talking about that mental shift that occurs after you've been running things on your own. And of course, there's still more to learn. I really love that answer, by the way. You know, there's always more to learn, and going back, even if it's under a consulting role, and seeing the inner workings of somebody else's company and the ability to learn from where they're at and use that as a reference point to stretch yourself and allow yourself to grow within your own business. So, you know, that was very well said. But do you find yourself, I mean, if you really dug down deep, do you find that mental shift has occurred where you really don't like the idea, or you couldn't imagine going back and, you know, taking orders from somebody else every day and working, just basically working in one of those, you know, brainless jobs where you're just doing what you're told all the time?
It would be extremely challenging. It's
I mean, you're gonna have to do what you got to do, but you can definitely recognize that mental shift that's occurred since you've been doing this for a while now.
And I think that the people who are actually going to take that leap to become small business owners, because everyone wants that, you know, complete and total freedom, very few people are able and willing to put in the actual work that it takes. And I think the people that do already start out as employees who are sitting there going, you know, this doesn't feel right. And I was one of those people. So it would be extremely hard to go back to a standard 9 to 5, you do this, you do what I say, and I have the final, you know, it would be extremely, go against my nature to be able to go back to that. So
yeah,
in some ways, I can definitely see what you're saying. And in that regard, yes, I would be not the most positive change for me, for sure.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a transformation that takes place when you become an entrepreneur. Not that you become a bad person and, you know, difficult working for someone else. It's just you've seen the other side, so it's tough to go back. But so, Erika, we're getting close to the end of our time here. I do want to give you a chance to put in a plug for your business. So if somebody's interested in some of your content and strategy services, any of those military-owned businesses out there, anybody that's listening, startups, that kind of thing, you know, how can we get a hold of you?
I do want to mention really quick that we do have a military discount for military affiliated businesses, so both for military spouses and veterans. So to get in contact with me, one of the best ways is to go to my website. It's www.heerencontentstrategy.com. That's Heeren is HEEREN, and then just content strategy. Or you can email me directly at Erika, ERIKA, at heerencontentstrategy.com.
Well, Erika, it's been great listening to your entrepreneurial story as a military spouse going into the world of entrepreneurship, and it's even better to know that you're out running on your own and you're successful. So we look forward to seeing your future success in the near future and beyond.
All right. Well, thank you for having me on the show.
You bet. All right, we're out. As you can tell from listening to the Veteran on the Move podcast, interviews are a great way to tell your story and spread the word about your business. If you would like to get booked as a podcast guest, I recommend Interview Valet. You can check out Interview Valet at veteranonthemove.com/valet. Be sure to check out Thrive15.com, the world's premier online education platform that helps entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs, and intrapreneurs learn how to start or grow a successful business. Start your free 30-day membership by going to Thrive15.com and use the promo code VETERAN. Thank you for listening to Veteran on the Move, your pathfinder to freedom. If you like the show, leave us a review on iTunes. Reviews are always greatly appreciated. So until next time, this veteran is Oscar Mike.